Well, good morning. Here we are. It is, yes, it's Garden America. I'm Brian Main, along with Tiger Palafox, and we are broadcasting once again from Tiger's backyard, actually underneath his patio here, from San Diego, California. And we're still good?
We're still good.
We're still good. Yeah,
We're
better
still
late
good.
than never. Those that have been waiting, since 8:06. Again, here we go with a few little glitches, as we like to say in the business, and but here we are. We're gonna do this as long as we can.
Yeah, we're gonna hold true to it as far and as long as we can. We'll kind of try to get as many questions answered for people right away, and just continue the show.
And I wish there was an answer. If somebody says, "Well, what's the problem?" It varies. There's various issues going on with so many technical aspects of what we're doing here. But again, like you said,
we're here. We're ready to go.
We're gonna do it. So
the only person, the person that's not here though today, is John Begnaska.
He's in the Lone Star State of Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
And we
Visiting
thought he
some
might
family.
call in.
We were hoping to try to get him on the show. We'll see if we can connect it because we would love to try to test the phone system out for this new setup too.
Exactly. So John is there with family, and they're having a good time. They're going to go watch a comedian and just hang out with family and friends in Texas. So you and I for the next, hour and a half or whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Or as long as we're on the air.
Exactly. As long as it allows us to, right?
So this is now you're still wearing shorts, but you put a sweater on.
I'm formal on top and casual down on the bottom.
Business on top.
Business on top.
And party on the bottom, as they
Exactly.
say. That usually was attributed to mullets. So anyway, yeah. So we're when I drove in today, 54 degrees.
Yeah,
So we're
a little
starting
chilly.
to
But
feel the cold weather.
The high is supposed to be in the 80s today too, so it's going to be a warm weekend. But then it's going to cool off again.
And which is what it did last week. It was
Yeah.
in the 60s. I thought, okay, here we go. I'm going to slide into fall and then back up into the 80s. So
Exactly.
those that are listening to us from different parts of the country are probably saying to themselves, what a bunch of wussies.
You know what's funny is
56 degrees is nothing.
Lisa wrote heater under the table. And believe it or not, Lisa, we actually have a fire pit that's in front of our table.
Yeah.
That's like just creating a nice little warm, because we did run into a little bit of some cool temperatures last time we were here, and I was like, it might be nice to have a little bit warmer area.
This time of the year, I've got a portable heater that I bring into the bathroom when I shower, but it does two things, though. Here's the beauty.
Yeah.
It keeps the mirror from getting fogged up.
Oh, does it?
And I never knew that until the first time I used it. I got, whoa.
There's all
no
those
fog.
There's all those little things that people live around the country have regionally. I never understood the whole heated bathroom floor thing, because I mean, let's be real, in San Diego we might need that 1 or 2 months out of the year, kind of a thing, but there are parts of the country and parts of the world that when you walk out in the morning and you step on that tile floor, it's cold.
It's cold. And our cold is, when it's 40 degrees here, we're just like going crazy with cold.
Yeah.
Anybody else, that lives in cold part of the country would say, I'd love it to be 40. It's minus 10 where I am, so give me 40 degrees any time. We have people that are tuned in.
Yeah, everybody's saying thanks for working hard on getting the show going, and we're looking forward to chatting with everyone. So I will say, if you're listening to the show now, get your questions in now, because we want to try to get to people's answers as soon as possible.
And with John being gone, it's one less person, so plenty of time, plenty of more time, I should say, to get to those questions and those comments here on Garden America. And hey, welcome those people on Biz Talk Radio who replay this show the following week. We appreciate Stephanie and her crew every week, and sometimes I have to call Stephanie and say, hey, go ahead and replay a show. Your choice.
Yeah.
We had a little problem this week.
Dealer's choice.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of the Biz Talk Radio fans out there, we would love to hear from you as well. We understand that, you're listening to a pre-recorded show.
Sure.
That's fine, because we still are accessible via Facebook.
At Garden America Radio Show Facebook page.
You can go to our website and contact us via our website. So please tell us where you're from. Ask your garden questions. We'll get the answer for you. We'll even send it to you either in the Facebook message, or we'll send you an email back. But it's also good to have for the next show. We'll have those questions, and we'll kind of go over them when we have the next show that airs on the Biz Talk Radio Network.
And to make it even more simple, or simpler. Is there a word, simpler?
I don't know.
I make up words all the time. You can also email John at gardenamerica.com.
Yeah.
That's John at gardenamerica.com. and he doesn't mind because he takes emails and garden questions all the time. John at gardenamerica.com. For those on Biz Talk Radio, you want to get some answers to your garden questions. And again, if you're back east, throughout the Midwest, it's going to get real cold now. Not much to happen as far as the garden, but there are still things you can do.
Yeah,
definitely.
Definitely. And I will say one other note for people that are asking their questions is try to do your best to include a few photos, not just a photo.
Yeah, a few.
A few photos. Try to take a picture of the plant maybe from afar, maybe take a picture of what the problem is up close, different couple angles, just so that way we can help determine what's going on or what you're, to help answer your question, because sometimes the description isn't enough.
Sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just like when somebody comes to you in the nursery and says, my plant died.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of care are you giving it? Are you watering it? Oh, I water every day. And that's when I'd say, you know what? I think you're overwatering.
Yeah. And then they say, oh, no. It was dry. And you're like, okay, well.
Yeah. So we need as much information as possible, and pictures are a big help.
Yeah. Plumeria question from Joyce. Is it time to cut back watering, or do I stop watering sometime?
Well, this would be the time of the year that you want to begin lessening the water on
Correct. Yes. Definitely start to cut back the watering. I don't think you need to stop watering yet. It's still not quite cold enough to stop watering yet, but you can decrease it. Usually a good telltale sign of stop watering is when a lot of the leaves begin to turn. Not necessarily all of them need to fall off. They just begin to turn,
right.
That yellow color.
Mine
you start to lose
off.
a few.
Mine are doing both.
Yeah, so at that time, that's when you stop watering because you're worried about rotting out. You're worried about keeping the soil too damp, kind of a thing. The other thing to think about is rainfall. If you're in an area where you're going to get rain, then cut back watering it or stop completely, because then it could supplement with that, and you don't need to do more.
It's very tough to stop watering. It's like saying, you know what, you can't feed your child for the next couple of 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I got to feed. Well, no. In this, whatever this instance may be, whatever. Just making up a hypothetical situation. It's tough because plants are like our kids. Plants are family. We want to take care of them, and people, the first thing they want to do is water.
Yeah.
So it's hard to cut back on watering if you're not used to doing that. Just like when I cut back my roses severely after being at John's house, they have never looked so good. They are all in full bloom. I used to have a rose bush or two that would give me maybe 1 or 2 roses at a time. Now I've got 5 or 6. So there's a case where I just had to take the plunge and cut them back extremely, right down to the bare bone.
Yeah, and that's good to do. And look at how great they look
6
now.
weeks later, it looks fantastic. So I know it's tough sometimes to stop watering, but in certain situations, that's what you need to do.
Carol's asking, morning from Tucson, how long will my magnolias last outside in pots? Thanks from Carol.
Tucson gets very cold in the wintertime because you're desert, I would imagine. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that the magnolias are actually very hardy annuals, so they can tolerate a little bit of cold, but not a lot.
Right.
So out there in Tucson, I'd imagine you probably can keep them going all the way through into January. Maybe around February they'll stop. They'll start to get burned a little bit, and not looking good in pots. The one thing that regarding keeping them in pots is as they get more established, I don't know how long they've been in this pot, Carol, is the idea, like what we talked about with the watering, is you don't have to water them a lot. If they're well established in pots, you're maybe looking at like a twice a week watering there, and that'll help kind of keep them lasting longer, because if you overwater and it's cold, now it's going to shorten the life of the plant. But
what about drainage? Is important.
Well, and you should be using potting soil and make sure the pot has drainage. But so I would say you're probably looking all the way until January, February. Getting some good magnolias flowers, and then probably at that point in time it's going to get too cold, and then it'll stop.
Okay.
So then you just pull them out, and then you can start over with something fresh. I mean, out there, you can go pansies, viola. What else is happening in the wintertime? Snapdragons, a lot of other fun plants for sure.
So we got about a minute until our first break. Anybody else we need to address?
No, I think we've answered so far the questions at this moment.
Yeah, so keep the questions, comments coming. We are here at Tiger's house in San Diego, and again, I know we talk about how cold it is. It's about, let's see, you know what? Let's see what the watch says.
Uh-oh. What does the watch say?
Watch says 53 degrees.
53?
53.
I don't think it's that cold. Do you think
Doesn't
so?
seem that. Well, we have, I got a jacket on, you got a sweater on. So that said, hey, by the way, the newsletter, we should read the quote of the week.
Do we have time before the break, or do we do it after?
We'll do it afterwards.
Yeah, I got it ready.
We're going to take our first break for our friends on Biz Talk Radio. We appreciate you joining us wherever you are, however you're listening to us here on Garden America. I'm Bryan Main, along with Tiger Palafox. John is in Texas. Going to take that break for Biz Talk Radio. Back after these messages, and a big thank you to Frutalome, our major sponsor here on Garden America. Okay, welcome back. Facebook Live, Biz Talk Radio. Appreciate you being along for the ride this morning on Garden America. Bryan Main, Tiger Palafox. John is in Texas. Next weekend is the Rose Auction here in San Diego.
Yeah, we're going to try to do I'm going to try to do a live broadcast from the Rose Auction
For as
on
long as you
Saturday.
can.
On Saturday, we'll try to do that for
Try
sure.
that. So the quote of the week, you've got the you've got the newsletter up on your phone, and go ahead, Tiger.
Gardening simply does not allow one to be mentally old, because too many hopes and dreams are yet to be realized. And that's by Alan Armitage.
Right.
Armitage.
And it makes sense, obviously, right?
Yeah, you know, I mean, any time that you can just keep what wakes you up in the morning? You know,
exactly. Motivation.
Motivation.
Right.
And so gardening, there's always something to do. You're never done. Whether you could work 18 hours in the garden one day. The next day, you can wake up and there's still something to do.
Yeah.
And you can look at that and be like, oh, that's a daunting task. But a real gardener just understands that and embraces it. And that's why you wake up the next day and just keep going.
Nature, the good Lord, will always give you something to do.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to gardening.
Yeah.
So that is definitely true. Yeah. Okay, so since you do a lot of landscaping, Tiger, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Here we are getting into the winter, the fall months here in Southern California.
Yeah.
Things are changing. What changes for you in your job when it comes to landscaping? What can you do or not do this time of year?
So, when we started the show, we kind of hinted on the watering. I know I've addressed this a few times, so I'll just do real quick. But people don't understand it's not just the temperatures that affect watering on plants or how the plants need watering. It's also the daylight hours. So meaning there's a lot less daylight hours now, which means there's a lot less evaporation, and which means there's a lot less growth happening in plants. So therefore, the plant requires less water. Okay. Second thing, also this time of year, is that the humidity in the air is going to stay more. So we have less dry air. So that means, again, a lot less evaporation and a lot less need to water. So even though it's still warm where you're at, maybe, it still means that you have to cut back water, because now is the time of year when people begin to overwater their plants a lot.
Right.
So, and that goes for lawns, succulents, California natives, all of that stuff. If you're having the same watering schedule now that you had in July, August, September,
you need to reevaluate.
You need to reevaluate it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you need to probably cut it by about 20 to maybe 30%. So if you were watering 3 days a week, water 2 days a week. If you're watering for 20 minutes, begin to water for 15 minutes or something like that.
Okay. Now here's the next question. So I come to you because I want you to come by and do some landscaping for me, and we're going to have a consultation.
Yes.
And I'm going to tell you that I want this, and it's let's say it's November.
Yes.
Let's say it's the next month from where we are now, November, December. And we're talking San Diego now, so I want to establish that. And I say, here's what I want, Tiger. I've done some research. I want these plants. I want these plants. And you say, I can't plant these now this time of year.
Yeah.
Does that play a role in terms of what you can and can't do seasonally?
Sometimes in terms of availability, so for instance, we talk about roses a lot during the program, and there are times here where just a lot of varieties of roses are just not available. Meaning, you can tell me I want to find this rose, and because it's this certain time of the year, all the roses are sold out. They haven't released the other varieties yet. I just can't find it. So sometimes seasonally I can't find plants. I'll tell you, though, if the plant is available, 12 months out of the year we can plant it, but it might not do anything, right? Like meaning like if you want me to plant an apple tree in January, it's going to be a bare root stick,
Right.
but I'll plant it and it'll sit there for 3 months before it grows.
Does that mean that you can plant? Let's see. I'm trying to think of deciduous plants, so on and so forth.
Well, we talked about plumerias.
Plumeria,
right?
exactly. So
I'm
there's a good
going
example.
to have it. It's just going to be sticks, and it's going to sit there for sticks, which is not a bad thing. I mean, it's great to plant things when they're dormant. That's why we do bare root. That's why we embrace that idea. But don't expect it. Like some people will redo their landscape, and their landscape is very seasonal in the spring, and we're planting it in the wintertime. There's a lot of plants that don't look good. We're still going to plant them. They're still viable plants. They're great plants. They just don't look that great.
They shouldn't look good.
Well, yeah.
This time of the year.
And so people get frustrated because they're like, oh, I wanted this to be pretty. It's like, well, if you wanted it to be pretty, you'd have to do it in spring.
See, that was my basic question is, then you need to wait.
Yeah.
If you want it to look, all, blooming and flowers and colors, we need to wait. But you know what? I would rather follow your advice in terms of planting in the wintertime or the fall.
That's the best time.
And let things grow, because then as the homeowner, you're actually seeing it come to fruition.
Yes, and it gets established easier.
Right.
There's less stress, less investment, all of that. I do want to keep talking on this subject, but we do have a thing that came in. So Carla wrote, my family took me to the San Diego Zoo yesterday to go on the botanical bus tour to and see the orchid greenhouse, which is only open a couple times a month, and shop at the plant sale. Lots of fun. Now, it's funny because people don't realize this, but the San Diego Zoo is just as much a botanical wonder
as it is animals.
Yeah, and a lot of people do go there to look at the plants because they do a fabulous job with the collection of plants that they have. They tag them and label them so you can know what they are. A specific thing, Carla, I don't know if you knew this about the orchid greenhouse, though. The orchid greenhouse is also a location where when the Border Patrol or the Ag Department gets illegal orchids,
confiscates them,
right. They bring them there.
Is that right?
And then because it's a trusted facility.
Sure.
That, they don't just want to trash some of these. These are very rare specimens. So then it's the San Diego Zoo's job to identify, see what they need to do. Sometimes they distribute them to other botanical gardens depending on their rarity and everything else like that. Sometimes they just release them. They make sure that they've quarantined them for a period of time and then release them. Sometimes they dispose of them if they're not that, unique or anything like that. But so you can see some really unique stuff there at that orchid garden because they get in stuff. Because, being here at a border city, there's a lot of, and people think, oh, it's just drugs or people or whatever. No, plants.
Yeah, sure.
They bring in plants illegally.
Exotic birds. I mean, you name it. Right. If it's got a value to it,
they'll bring it in.
Absolutely.
And so the San Diego Zoo is one of the places that they bring that stuff in. And so you can see some really unique stuff there sometimes. And it's a great opportunity. And like she said, it's only open like once a month. So if you get the opportunity to go when it's open, it's a lot of fun. Because, you're going to see stuff there that you won't see anywhere in the United States sometimes.
So with what I took home last week from you, when you divided.
Oh, the orchid?
The orchid. When am I going to see growth? And the fact that it's
not until spring, right?
And here's my next question is, it's in a pot, as opposed to like not needing a host,
right,
and being put someplace else,
right.
Is that because of the species?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, different ones. Some require bark and soil. Some require, they're just air plants.
Dieffenbachia, right?
That was the one. Yeah, you got.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
We're going to take a quick break here.
All right. More questions. Good.
And I've got questions too, so it's going to be a lot of fun here on Garden America, along with Tiger Palafox. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Main. We're going to take a break for Biz Talk Radio. Back after these messages on Garden America. Stay with us. Okay, we are back live from Tiger's backyard, Tiger's patio here. Those that can see the background, beautiful day, sun is coming up, even though it's a bit cool, probably mid to high 50s right now. We're supposed to get into the low 80s today. So, that said, a fun day is in store for all of us here in San Diego, and the
Yeah.
questions keep coming. The word that I couldn't think of during the break.
Epiphyte is a plant
Epiphyte.
that's epiphytic, which does not require
It just
soil.
needs a
Yeah.
host. It could
Yeah.
be a tree.
Yeah.
It could be someplace to support it.
Yeah.
Which my species is different.
Yeah, exactly. Lenore, plumerias have small root systems, I've heard. Yes. You know what's crazy, Lenore, is
Small
that
or shallow?
small and shallow.
Okay, all right.
Because it's amazing because there was a property I went to that had a plumeria that was about 10 feet tall, maybe about 8 or 9 feet wide. Just beautiful specimen plumeria.
Wow.
It was very well established. It was a good plant. It blew over in a windstorm, and we went out and we staked it up
And it was
we
in the
tied
ground.
it down. It was in the ground. Yes,
Okay,
good.
all right.
Thank you. And we staked it up and we took off some of the weight, and there was not a lot of root system in there. And when we stood it up and secured it, the plant still thrived. It did just fine.
So
you
they're
would
sturdy.
think-
They're tenacious. They're
they're-
hardy, I guess. Is that the word?
I would say that they're hardy because a lot of what they need is within the stems of the plant. That's why they don't have a big root system.
Okay.
Is because they don't need those tap roots. They don't need that massive root system to support it. They have what they need in the plant itself. So therefore, that's why when you can take a cutting and just drop it in the soil, it'll begin to grow because everything it needs is in that stem, and then it just goes from there.
Sounds like a cactus or a succulent.
Very similar,
in a
right?
weird way.
Very similar. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's one of the problems though with plumerias is the cold weather is the reason why that affects them so much. They have so much water in them that when that freezes, that's what damages the plant.
And so by watering when you shouldn't water this time of the year, you're over-watering because it already has within it what it needs in terms of watering.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And also, the idea that you're maybe forcing some growth when it shouldn't be. You just don't want to be rotting out that root system. Let's see here. John did a great job with the newsletter. Lenore, your rose is beautiful. Lisa's live oak is so nice and stately. Kevin's blooming bonsai is adorable.
Yeah, I
Well,
saw
way
that.
to go,
yeah.
guys. Yeah,
How
good
about
good
that?
photos. Good photos
Yeah,
for
great
sure. Thanks
photos.
for sharing them. Continue sharing the photos,
Yeah,
please.
those photos go to john@gardenamerica.com. And yes, you too could appear in the newsletter. At least your picture or your plant could appear in the newsletter.
Kevin asked, when's the best time to take cuttings and propagate plumeria? So actually we're in the middle of that right now. So, taking cuttings, you're actually kind of like wrapping up the time of year to do that because, if you take a cutting in the wintertime, most people say, oh, that's the best time of year to take a cutting, but then, it sits and you run the risk of rotting it out.
Yeah.
So, we're wrapping up the time of year where to take cuttings because a lot of times these plumerias are just going to go dormant. So the next best time, Kevin, is going to be late summer. That's the best time to kind of take cuttings, root the plumeria, let it grow, let it winter then, and then the next spring you'll get a nice
So he's
plant.
about a year away from that.
Yeah.
Late summer.
Yeah. Especially in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
And we talked about the quote of the week that we had in terms of always something to do.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things we should all remember when it comes to gardening too is patience.
Oh, definitely.
Because I know we all want it to bloom and we all want it right now. And that's not always the case.
Yeah.
You got to be patient.
Yeah, I'm wondering if any of our listeners out there actually harvest seeds for growing. Because that's a whole nother level of gardening, right? Where you have a plant, you have a flower, you harvest the seeds, you store the seeds,
Yeah.
you plant the seeds, and you start over again.
I think that used to be more prevalent than it is today. I have no figures to back me up or statistics, but does that seem old-fashioned to you? Does that seem kind of like old school?
Oh, it definitely seems
Yeah.
old-fashioned and old school to me. And I really think the only reason why anybody would do it nowadays is either because it's the hobby,
It's a
and
hobby.
that's what they do,
And it's fun.
or that plant is so rare or unique that you can't find it elsewhere.
sure.
And that's why they propagate it that way because, it might be a variety of salvia or, another annual flower that they can't find. And so therefore they want to do it. Some people do it with their tomatoes, and so some people do it with their tomatoes and, different vegetables because they feel like, oh, That's the only way I'm going to get that vegetable again.
Yeah.
Because they
sure.
can't find it.
Or to make sure that I have it.
Yeah.
It's like going to Costco.
Yeah, exactly.
I got to buy a case of everything just in case.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Ooh. Lots of good chatter on the program. Thank you very much for sharing. So let's talk a little bit about the auction for next week. How much time do we have before our next break?
Well, we got about 5 minutes.
Oh,
we're looking good. 5 minutes is a long time in media.
Okay.
On the
So
radio.
if you're in Southern California and you have the opportunity, we're going to be in Oceanside next weekend. If you go to the California
Coastal Rose Society.
Website, which
California Coastal Rose Society.
ccrs.org.
Yeah, you can just Google Coastal Rose Society. It'll come up, and it's going to be. I don't know the name of the place. I just know it's called the Senior Center.
Yeah, it's up there in Oceanside at. They developed this whole area where they have like sports complex and the stadium. Front Wave Arena is up there, and
is that where we were 2 years ago with Marion Ross?
Yeah,
same place.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, anyways, on Saturday is a great opportunity to visit and listen to some great speakers, some experts on roses, on cultivating them, on growing them, on just general rose history and all of that.
Now, are those roses on display on Saturday in case you wanted to sort of take a peek and find out what you might want to bid on the next day?
I don't know if they're going to be on display. I don't think they're on display. I think they're having, part of the rose show and all of that on Saturday. But Saturday is supposed to be more informative. So if you're very interested in roses and, like I said, cultivating
talks,
how, history, that's going to be a great thing. And then on Sunday is the actual auction.
Because I do know that when we do the auction on Sunday, probably 90% of the people, if not all of them, they already know what they're going to bid on.
The list is online.
Yeah, the list is there.
The list is online. So you can start looking at what roses are available, and you can start seeing what, piques your interest for sure. Because for those people that haven't heard us talk about this before, this is an opportunity to get maybe one-of-a-kind rose.
Rare roses.
The whole point of this whole group is to save roses.
Yeah.
And so, you might have, one of 3 roses in the world. And the idea is to preserve and, continue the legacy of these certain roses. A lot of roses have really neat stories behind them. Which is really fun to have a rose in your garden because it has a unique story. Sometimes people just really like the flower. Sometimes people just like the name. There's all kinds of reasons why you would want a rose. And, you can get some for $20 and then some of them go for $200.
And it's supply and demand, meaning that you might be there bidding against 4 or 5 people or even one other person that wants that rose. And that's what obviously drives the bidding up.
Yeah. Yeah, and so definitely if you're in the Southern California area, or like I say, you can go online and you could bid on roses right now online too, and be a part of
California
the auction.
Coastal Rose Society. That's what you want to Google.
Yeah, and thanks Carla for posting. ccrsauction.com is the website to go to for the auction. I will say the other thing to know is that all the money that is raised at this auction goes towards preserving these plants. So it goes towards, botanical gardens. It goes towards preservation, propagation of these plants to be able to kind of perpetuate them and keep them going. So your money is going towards a good cause.
Yeah. As they say, win-win. Everybody wins on this one.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got about a minute. Go ahead.
Okay. Switch. Maybe I'll ask the question, then we'll answer when we get back. I have mums planted in the yard and brought on one of those big pots of mums. Do I cut them back in order to keep them from getting leggy? This is from Joyce. And mum care is a great question. When we get back from the break, I will address mum care.
All right. How about that? Mum care with Tiger when we get back. Facebook Live, Biz Talk Radio, syndicated nationally here, Garden America. I'm Brian Main, Tiger Palafox. Again, Johnson, Texas, so we're going to take that break and back and address mums here on Garden America. Stay with us. Well, how about that? We are back. A much quicker break on Facebook Live, Biz Talk Radio. Thank you for supporting us and supporting our sponsors, Fertilome, and other sponsors here who support Garden America. Now, just prior to the break, we were talking mums, but
Yes.
now we're really going to get into mums.
Not your mum.
Not my mom.
Not your mum. Not mummies.
Is mum the word?
Mum is the word, right? But mums chrysanthemums.
Okay.
Very, very popular right now in the fall. This is the time of year. You see them in, the shopping centers. You see them in all the garden centers. And what you're seeing right now are the very small button mums, and the reason why you see them now is because they're very early. They're a little bit more heat tolerant for Southern California, where we kind of grow most of this stuff. And so a one thing to do is deadhead. You know what deadhead is? And I'm not talking about Jerry.
I'm not
talking
Jerry
about
Garcia,
Jerry.
not
No.
Ben and Jerry.
No.
Deadheading would be I chop it right off the top. Lop their head off.
So, one of the problems with mums is that their flowers, when they become spent, they hold on to the plant. They don't let go. They don't just fall off.
They need to. You need to help them fall off.
You need to help them fall off so that way you get new flowers. If you leave those old flowers on, you won't get new flowers. The buds will just stay right there. Mm-hmm. They won't come out, and then you'll just be frustrated because it looks like a dead plant.
So what happens to those that are growing in the wild where nobody's there to take care of them?
So this button mum that we're talking about, first off, is the biggest culprit of it all, because the other mums that are out there, the other chrysanthemums, they actually kind of clean themselves. They do.
Okay.
The ones with the bigger flowers, they do kind of fall off and they kind of get new flowers and they kind of grow. But we're so, invested in this button mum right now because they're so early. Because in theory, right now is the time of year that you want to see mums. The other mums that get the larger chrysanthemum flowers, those aren't going to happen for another month or two. So you almost miss the window.
Okay,
and to maximize it, they try to get these early flowering plants. So those bigger mums are much better to have because, number one, you're going to have them in November, December. I think they're prettier and they have better looking flowers. And they kind of self-clean a little bit better than these button mums. So, but to what you have now, deadheading is simply snipping off about an inch or so of that flower. So not just sometimes people just pull off the flower, which is fine to do too. But if you can snip it off, you'll allow that new bud to come up. It'll take its place. You'll get another blooming cycle of flowers. And go from there.
If you pull it off, it's a little more drastic, right?
Sometimes you can damage it.
Or regrowth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, let's be real. Some of these mums are just covered with hundreds and hundreds of blooms. So sometimes people just throw them out and then start over again.
It sounds like, in a weird comparison, leaving hips on roses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the end of it.
Just by the way it looks.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I will say that if you do that and you fertilize, you'll get more bloom cycles out of that mum, which is really nice. But there's a lot of investment in doing it. I will say though that if you go to a nursery, maybe next month, you'll see some of the other varieties of mums in stock, which are great to have. Those are much better.
I mean, if you don't want to go through all that, then the button mum, is it safe to call it a button? I mean, that's not what you want.
No.
Unless you're going to invest some time and really want to do that.
They're really just a showpiece.
Yeah,
they really are just something you buy to put on your porch, table, whatever it is.
It's all show.
Just to have it for like that week or two, and then it kind of like goes away. But it's what it is. It's the time of year,
right?
But there's a lot better options out there, and there's a lot better plants. I mean, there's right now, somebody just mentioned marigold, calendula. There's coleus. There's a lot of other wonderful fall plants, ipomea, that give you long-lasting foliage and color and just look better than the mum. But I understand that some people want the mum.
And how many people in your landscaping experience say, "I want color and I want something that's going to be beautiful 12 months out of the year"?
Oh, right. That's where they go into the fake plant area, right?
Exactly.
Okay, let's see here. When we moved recently, I lost several plants, including a rose. I planned to toss, then I noticed green growth on it and a beautiful flower. Would it be okay to move it out of the pot to a better pot now?
Well, what location? Where are we?
Yeah, it's a great question. But I will say though that if you really want to make sure that it's stable before you do anything, right? Like it's all just because it put out new growth in a flower doesn't mean that it's stable yet. What happened was just the moving shocked the plant. Maybe it got underwatered for a period of time.
It needs to recover.
Yeah. And you can't just go like boom, 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 next.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to perpetuate the stress. So, Veronica asked that question, and I would say I would wait, Veronica. I mean, it's going to be going dormant here in another month or two. I would just wait till it goes fully dormant again and then do the transplanting, just so that way there's even less stress. Because what's going to happen right now is, say you did move it right now. Depending on where you're at, it could start to grow again.
And we don't want it to grow.
And you don't want it to grow.
No, that's exactly
if you
right.
wait till it's ready to be dormant, then you'll be fine, and just wait a few months.
Sometimes you need to stick to the plant schedule.
Yeah.
They have their own schedule. And the more you understand that, the better off you're going to be, and the more successful you'll be.
Yeah.
We got a couple of minutes until the break.
Man, they're going so fast.
Well, that's good. We like it.
Let's see here. Speaking of music trivia, Kevin.
All right, Kevin.
No, he's getting us off topic. Let's see what he says, though. Speaking of music trivia, I'll bet there are more songs about roses than any other item, except maybe love or whiskey.
Well, there's the Yellow Rose of Texas. There's
goodness. You got him started.
Paul McCartney had an album years ago, Red Rose Speedway.
Guns N' Roses.
Stop and Smell the Roses by Mac Davis. You said Guns N' Roses.
There's a whole band dedicated to roses.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, well, roses are, what do we say, the two most popular? Roses
and
and
tomatoes.
Yeah, roses and tomatoes.
Yeah. I think everywhere in the world you'll see roses and tomatoes whenever you look at
gardening.
Never
promised you a rose garden.
Who was that?
That was Lynn Anderson.
Yeah.
Was Lynn Anderson? Never promised you a rose garden. Yeah, I think so.
Not to get, yeah, that's funny.
Someone will correct me, but I think so. Again, roses. Everything's coming up
Everything's
roses,
coming
right?
up roses, right?
That was Kate Smith years ago.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so
we got to take a break.
We got to take a break
yeah,
now?
We'll
Okay,
take a break.
cool.
So this break is for our friends. Of course, it's for everyone. Biz Talk Radio news coming up top of the hour, just a very few minutes from right now. We come back broadcasting on Biz Talk Radio 6 minutes after the hour, 2 hours. Hopefully you can listen to one or both hours on Biz Talk Radio, and thank you for tuning in. Once again, John in Texas, it's Bryan and Tiger on your Saturday morning, and of course, if it's a replay, it could be any other time of the day or night. Stay with us. Going to take a top of the hour news break for Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live, back after these messages and news on Biz Talk Radio. Stay with us. Welcome to the show, or in some cases, welcome back to the show. If you are tuned in on Biz Talk Radio, this is hour number 2. For Facebook Live, it's one long continuous show. I did a quick fact check during the break, Kevin. Yes, Lynn Anderson did Rose Garden. I had to be sure because so many songs in my head, but that was Lynn Anderson. Never Promised You a Rose Garden. It's one of those songs that when you hear it, you go, "Oh, I know this song."
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't recognize the title,
name or the artist. Yeah.
But it's one of those songs that has been around for years and years.
Yeah. It's good. And I think Kevin is right. I think that probably roses are definitely the number one plant for music. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
you give roses for romance, you give roses for maybe at a funeral, or roses can be used for almost any occasion.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and there's that whole color scheme.
Yes.
You give a yellow rose for this, a white rose for this, a red rose for this. Yeah.
By the way, I speaking of how prolific my roses are in terms of bloom. So yesterday I trimmed off a lemon spice.
Okay.
It's one of the roses, John. Did he give it to you? A couple of years ago, he gave
you it. Yeah. No, not me.
What a nice aroma.
Really?
Lemon spice.
Good fragrance.
Yes, very good fragrance.
See, that's probably, it's funny because, I've got Chrysler Imperial, orange juice.
How many have a fragrance?
Gold, Marie. Chrysler Imperial has a fragrance. I think they all have fragrance. But if I was to collect roses, if that was my thing, I would collect purely for fragrance. I would only want roses with a very strong or unique fragrance.
You know what's interesting about roses to the layperson? What's the first thing they do?
Smell it.
They smell it.
Yeah.
And they don't realize.
I mean, I guess they look at it first.
Well, but I mean, some people think that all roses have a fragrance.
Right.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
In fact, there might be more that don't. I don't know what the statistics are on that. John could tell us. But I have
I think people mostly smell flowers in general.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
Like when you walk up to something, don't you just smell it and see if it does have a fragrance at all? Yeah.
So I have the lemon spice and Pope John Paul. Wow.
Good ones.
Oh, huge.
Yeah. So, yeah, but smelling plants, it's always you see a flower, you walk up to it, you smell it. Oh, that one doesn't have a fragrance, but it's pretty, so I like it. But fragrance, that's why I like plumerias so much. They all have fragrance.
Yeah, they do.
They all do. Some are stronger than others too, but they all have fragrance, so I like that. All right.
Are we caught up?
Let me check.
Come on, questions, comments, those. Come on, Facebook.
Yeah.
Hit us with your best shot.
Oh, Carla wrote Paper Roses by Marie Osmond.
That's true. You know what, Carla? Very good. Paper Roses.
Yeah.
They're not real roses, but it's a song about roses. And then, boy, she did that when she was like 12 or 13, too.
Oh, wow.
Long time ago.
Somebody mentioned Lila earlier in the show, and I don't see her on the program, Lila, at the moment. But we were just out at her yard this week.
Is that in Poway?
In Poway, and she was looking for a brachiochiton discolor, so we found one of those for her, a great specimen. And then we filled her raised garden beds with some soil so she can get cracking on her winter veggies. So
well, that's fun.
Look forward to seeing some pics from her hopefully pretty soon.
Yeah, newsletter.
Because
future newsletter pictures.
Definitely, exactly. Future newsletter symbols. Rio Samba, Rose, Lisa Martin. Scent is the first consideration, then color for me. And then the perfume industry, are roses used? For the perfume industry, are roses used? Kevin, for the perfume industry, are roses used? I would say yes.
I think in some instances.
Yes, there are actually some roses that have been bred specifically for the perfume industry. I will say that is a little bit of a thing that's fallen off. They've created synthetic fragrances, and they can do whatever they want
and
with those fragrances.
And it's probably cheaper too.
Where it's either investing in creating a plant, growing a plant,
exactly,
taking care of a plant. It's much easier to create some synthetic. Now, I will say for the high end perfumes,
yes,
they still use a lot of the old methods, and that's why it's a high end,
right? They charge you more,
But I would say that it's not readily used as you would think it was anymore. But that's where they get I think a lot of inspiration from. Like they'll smell of
and then
rose,
try to replicate that,
and then they'll try to replicate it in the future synthetically.
People with lab coats on, beakers and smoke coming out of the lab, and those people.
Did you say smoke coming out of the lab?
Steam,
Steam.
Smoke.
They got little centrifuges running,
bubbles,
and all that.
Bubbles coming up.
Yeah.
You get the picture.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. We couldn't do the show last week, but
we were all set up and ready to go. But we did find out from the engineer at the studio why that's the case.
Yeah,
and it has to do with changing the Wi-Fi. More security measures, actually dialing down,
throttling down.
Yeah, what we used to be capable of.
Yeah.
So at least we got an answer on that, and we'll see how we can rectify that at some point.
One of the topics that we were going to hit on last week is one-hit wonders. Yes. And I really do feel I'm not gonna expand on this because I really do feel it's important for John to be here when we do this topic of one-hit wonders. But we're talking about plants and why you would be attracted to it right now. We're talking about the roses, the flower, the fragrance, different things like that, colors and things. And I would say that that's what drives a lot of the one-hit wonder plants is that it's the flower that it creates is unique and different. And I think that then creates that drive why somebody's got to have it. I want it
because they're not readily available.
Yes, and then it kind of goes away with some time, and then the next plant comes along.
It's like look what I have. Oh, where'd you get it? Can't tell you.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing to kind of see the plants that kind of come and go through the years, especially when it comes to annual flowers.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and I look forward to seeing what's coming out next because there's always something new. I mean, you know, pansies and petunias, and then, you know, there was bacopa and scavola and nemesia and all these wonderful perennial, you know, annual flowers that the growers invest in. They create and then they release them, and we see them in the garden centers, and then they kind of do their new thing. But I do wish they would make more with fragrance because that's the problem. There's not a lot of like annuals that have a lot of fragrance. I like sweet alyssum, right? Let's see here.
You got a couple of minutes before the break.
Veronica agrees. No roses in my garden that do not have a great scent. My favorite, Mr. Lincoln and Double Delight.
Yeah, Mr. Lincoln is an incredibly sweet-smelling, just the nicest fragrance.
Yeah, Mr. Lincoln is a good red,
yeah,
good red rose too. Overall, like it's a very good.
Is there a 4th of July rose?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I believe it's white and red,
which would make sense.
And I think it's a climber also, if I remember correctly. Tanya wrote, "Are bacopa annuals?" And yes, bacopa is an annual in some areas. For us in Southern California, we do kind of consider it a little bit of a perennial. You know, but it's that white flowering trailing plant. They also find it in like a bluish and purple. It's wonderful for putting into your potted plants or hanging baskets because it cascades and trails and it blooms a lot. You know, it's always in bloom, which is really nice. Which, you know, since we're talking about bacopa right now, Tanya, I do want to, you know, people are getting into this time of year where it's the fall. We talked about the mums and pots, combinations. One of the best combinations this time of year for a pot is going to be some kind of grass, you know, so, you know, some kind of grass, feathergrass, lomandra, something like that. And then a filler plant like a coleus or some kind of blooming plant. And then a trailing or cascading plant like bacopa, scavola, dichondra off the side of the pot. Ipomea is another one. So
look at you rattling off.
Yeah, I'm trying to do all my name dropping. But do you remember what we call that combination of? Do you remember the not the acronym, but we do our thriller, which is our vertical, you know, stable plant, and then we do our filler,
okay,
which is like the middle, and then we do our spiller. So it's thriller, filler, spiller. Yep. And
sounds like a law firm.
You know, and it probably is.
We got to take a break.
They got a commercial on the late night TV.
We'll leave you on that note. Quick break, Facebook Live, a bit longer on Biz Talk Radio. Garden America, as we always say, back after these messages. We trust you had a good break. We are back. We enjoyed our break. Those on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. We do appreciate the questions, the comments, all very pertinent, all very good this morning because we all learned together.
Yeah. And moving on to another question. Paula wrote, "I want alyssum that reseeds." And alyssum is a plant that you used to be able to buy, and it reseeded everywhere all over the place. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of growers moved away from that variety of alyssum is because somebody planted it and then it just started coming up all over their yard. Yeah. So I will say, Paula, that if you buy alyssum in color packs from the garden center, there's a good chance that that's a variety that is kind of like sterile and it's not going to reseed that much. But if you go online, companies like Botanical Interest, Ferry Morris, they are going to have varieties of alyssum that will reseed. And those are the varieties that you want to get because those are the ones that are going to come back year after year. They're going to pop up throughout your garden, come up by themselves. So that's the way you have to buy that variety of alyssum is reseeding alyssum is buy it from a seed company, whether it's in the garden center or you find it online. They do still sell it, but they just don't. If you buy it in color packs, it's usually not going to be that variety anymore. Okay. Miniature houseplants as gifts. Which are best and easiest to care for? Hardiest of. Kalanchoe, fern, violet, cyclamen, solanginella, and something called splash. That's the kind of polka dot plant. Okay. The miniature houseplants that are easiest to care for, Kalanchoe is a very easy one. I would say that. Kalanchoe, Kalanchoe. Ferns some are easy, some are very difficult. Do you have any ferns?
No.
No. Some are very difficult to grow. Violets, probably one of the hardest, because of the watering. Cyclamen, very seasonal, and they don't do well as houseplants. That is not a houseplant. So cyclamen, I would say no. Solanginella and something called the splash, those are easy because it's just a matter of keeping them damp, not like a wet, but damp in a well-lit room, and they'll grow easily. But miniature-wise, the other thing that people can think of is, orchids. There's a lot of there's a lot of miniature orchids that grow very easy and inside because they just require a humid environment. And then what else miniature wise? I'm trying to think what I've had. Bromeliads. I don't know if you call that miniature, but bromeliads are very easy too. Let's see here. I love my baby bunny bellies. Baby bunny bellies.
Bunny bellies?
Yeah. Hanging in a pot one in the nicest tiny blooms. It also has a nice texture. It feels like a soft bunny. So do you know what that is? Baby bunny bellies. Here, let me show you a picture because you'll recognize it.
Baby bunny bellies.
Yeah, you'll recognize it when I show you the picture.
It sounds like a mouth exercise before you go on the air. It's like rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Did you do that so well? I don't think I could do that.
Can you say the sheik's sixth sheep is sick?
No.
The sheik's sixth sheep is sick.
So
getting back to mouth exercise.
It's a tradescanthia.
Yes,
so
yes.
John brought in a tradescanthia for you last week.
Right.
This one though has like a fuzzy and smaller leaf, so it's a little bit more compact. And those are a lot of fun. So it's kind of succulent. So they're very easy to take care of.
But what is it? Bunny belly?
Baby bunny bellies.
Baby bunny bellies.
Yes. Yeah. So try saying that 12 times fast.
Baby bunny bellies. Okay, yeah, it's a good one.
Paula wrote, we bought a 6-pack of reseeding alyssum last year and had none grow, spread in our 2.5 acres. Yeah, like I say, I would say even the ones that you buy in color packs, and they do say they're reseeding, and they will reseed to some extent, but they're nothing like what they used to. John, I don't know if some of the listeners you remember this. When John first got his house, he had to hydroseed his slopes to retain them, and one of the seeds that was in that hydroseed mix was alyssum. And for years, you would go out there to his property, and you would see alyssum, and you would see alyssum, and you would see alyssum. And now, when you go out there, you just don't see it like it did when it was first hydroseeded. It's a tough thing. But you do have to replant every few years some of this seed because I don't think it naturalizes as much as we.
You don't just plant it and forget it.
Yeah. But it's going to be one of those plants that also comes up where you don't want it when you do actually want it.
Now, you told me a few years ago that Isaac had spread.
Oh, what was it? The California poppies. He planted them all in like one area. Oh, but no. And then we went across the canyon and spread them across the canyon, but they never took off. I'm so disappointed in the California poppies that we planted.
Did he throw them in your yard as well?
Yeah, I've invested hundreds and hundreds
do
and hundreds
of
dollars.
They just not ever come up, or they come up and they die or go away, or what?
It just doesn't. It doesn't come up. They come up and then they go away, but they don't come back the next year like I want them to. I wish they would come back the next year easier. Kevin wrote, bonsai used to be a popular gift, but how many of us left with little bonsai pot with little black hard rocks and no plant alive in it after the plant died? Kevin, that's so true because, bonsais are not easy from the standpoint of usually it's some kind of like juniper or small tree, and finding that balance of water.
That's what I remember as a kid.
Challenge.
The small tree.
Yes.
Very popular, I think, in Asian communities.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, well, but it takes care. And and a lot of people get confused with care with, the trimming and all of that. And it does require some of that. I wouldn't even say that's the biggest care. It's the watering and fertilization because that root system is so small and so tight that if you do not fertilize correctly and you do not water correctly, that plant will either die from overwater or die from underwater. And fertilizer too, because it needs to be supplemented because there's no There's no nutrients in that soil. It's all roots.
Is there a special bonsai fertilizer or just any commercial fertilizer?
I would say that there's any commercial fertilizer, but it's diluted because you can't put
Right, too
strong.
much, right.
You can't put it strong. You'll burn the plant.
And I would imagine you do really want organic and not chemical in terms of the burning, right?
I mean, that's easier for you.
Right.
It's easier.
Right.
You know, like you do run the risk of burning with chemical fertilizer because you might not.
Yeah.
You might mix it too strong.
And that's going to go right to the plant itself as opposed to going into the soil or the rocks or whatever you have it in terms of keeping it stable.
But it's so true where Kevin says, like, people will just have these little collections of bonsai pots, but no plants. And the little fishermen, holding
on the bridge.
On the bridge.
On the little bridge. We've all seen that.
Exactly. Kevin, you hit it right on the button there.
Yeah, painted a good picture for all of us.
Yeah. And Kevin wrote, Lenore wrote, Kevin, I think it's because we don't leave them outside. And that is something true, too. A lot of people put their bonsai plants inside.
On their coffee table.
And that is not the correct place to keep it. They need to be outside, under a porch, protected, and, that's where the ideal bonsai would be.
And then somebody says, but how can I enjoy it? I want it to be in the house.
I need to see it.
We're going to take a break. We're going to stay on track here. 2 more segments coming up, by the way, in case you're keeping track. 2 more segments for Biz Talk Radio and, of course, for Facebook Live. Glad you could join us. Great questions. Everybody that's tuned in with questions and comments. So, again, John next week at the auction. John this week is in Texas. And, again, it's Tiger and myself here on Garden America. Going to take a break for Biz Talk Radio back after these messages. Back from the break. And, yes, here we go. This is one of our longer segments. Plenty of time for questions, comments, and whatever else is on your mind.
One of the things that's also happening this time of year, we're talking about, fall and Halloween time, is Halloween decorations go up in the yard. And, when people put these decorations up in the yard, sometimes they forget, like, oh, I have to trim my lawn or I have to cut these plants and then these decorations. But it's kind of cool, though, because people then let the plant grow for a period of time where they normally wouldn't.
Right.
Or the lawn grow.
Yeah.
And it's actually really, really healthy to kind of let these plants kind of do their thing for a period of time without them being trimmed. And one of the things that people tell me about that happens this time of year that they didn't realize is that a lot of their like hedge plants, they will have a flower or they'll have a very unique foliage on the new growth that they didn't recognize because they were constantly pruning, constantly trimming. But until they stopped pruning it
now
or
they've
stopped
let it
trimming,
go. They
now
see the flower.
See the flower, see the foliage. So, that is something that I think is nice about, allowing your garden to just grow for a period of time.
Yeah.
So even if you don't have decorations, just let it do its thing for a while. You can always get out there and cut back later and trim and, do that. But, like, let it grow.
Yeah, see what it can do.
Yeah, right? And sometimes the plants are a lot healthier. They're more resistant to pests. They're going to, photosynthesize more and better. And so just let them kind of do their own thing. Yeah. All right. Joyce, got my garden shed cleaned out while listening to us all. Good for her.
Well, you know what? That's got to feel good. That is very liberating. Right?
Yeah,
Anytime you
right.
clean something out, get rid of things, so on and so forth.
I think Lila is joining us, and she wrote, what veggies would you recommend planting now? So,
is it, would this be in her raised beds now?
Yeah,
we're talking?
she's talking about her raised beds. So, for Poway in that area right now, all the leafy greens you can still grow.
Yeah.
We're actually in the best time of year to plant them because it's cooling off, and they really like the cool weather. So spinach, lettuces.
Is the soil still warm, rather warm, or not?
Well, and that is we're wrapping that up. So the soil is dropping down. So I think you'll be okay. And but lettuces, spinach, chards, arugula, all the leafy green stuff. Broccoli, cauliflower, those crops. Out there as well, you can still do some of like the things like the radishes, all the herbs, very, very easy. The only thing you got to be careful with on the basil is the cool weather. But, in the cilantro, basil and cilantro get really bit by cool weather real hard. So be careful with that. But then there's also some of the varieties of the beans, and what else can you do right now? I'm trying to think of what would be fun. Chard, Swiss chard, they have one called Bright Lights. It's just such a showy plant. So, that's always fun because it's got red and yellow and orange in the stems, which is kind of fun to kind of see that. Can grow that. But then, there's the purple broccoli and, there's a lot of fun stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Carla wrote, because Joyce was cleaning at her shed. Wow, I feel guilty. I was just sipping on my coffee.
Hey,
she was just enjoying the show, and there's Joyce working hard away.
I wonder if Joyce has earbuds in.
Yeah, she's just trucking along, or speaker, just a big speaker out there. Yeah, it's funny.
It is warming up. I can feel it now.
Right?
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a nice day.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really nice today. It should be, it's beautiful
Low
and
80s.
clear.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going to be working in the yard. I've got some trimming to do. I've got some cleaning up to do.
You dedicated this day to what you're doing, and is it an all-day garden thing?
All-day garden thing, yep.
Really?
Exactly. So I'll be doing some transplanting, doing some trimming, just some bushes to cut back. I've got an area where I've got to modify some irrigation system to water a little bit better. I'm going to adjust. I already turned off my water from the rain. So I turned off all my irrigation last week because of the rain. I'm not going to turn it on quite yet. It's still pretty damp. So I'm going to let it still dry out a little bit more before.
No, but at some point you turn it off for the entire winter or not?
Yes. I think last year I was able to turn it off in November. I didn't turn it on again until April or May.
And again, and that's obviously because even though you may not get a lot of rain or there's periods in between, the soil stays moist.
Yeah, or the plants don't need it too.
Right, for the most part.
Right, soil stays moist. Plants don't need it. And that's just the cycle. That's just the cycle of what you're doing. So,
what about your plumeria right here? It still looks pretty good.
Yeah,
off to our right.
Yeah, you see the leaves are kind of starting to turn a little bit, but it's still in bloom. Still looking pretty good.
It's interesting. If you didn't know what time of the year it was and you just went by how the plumeria looked, you could kind of guess, what time of the year, what season it is.
Yes, right.
Just by looking at it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? It was exactly a year ago, I think, in October. We were at the plumeria show in Balboa Park.
Mm-hmm.
We did a remote from there.
Was that in October?
I think so, yeah.
They had the plumeria
because we talked about
because that's the plant sale,
right? And I remember them talking about when to stop watering as we got into the winter months.
Yeah. Carolyn, I had good luck with camellia seeds. We were talking about that a couple of shows ago, and she was talking about growing some camellia seeds. So she says she has some good luck with it. So that's awesome. Kevin, when he lived in Poway, arugula did fantastic. It took over, flowered, seeded itself, and there were perpetual arugula growing like weeds. I appreciated its ferocity. Let's see. Joyce was just listening to them on her phone, but she forgot to let her chickens out. So she's got to go and do that now.
Let the chickens out. Maybe that's something we should do each week.
John and
Joyce,
Bonnie.
let the chickens out, Joyce.
Yeah, a little reminder. We'll put an alarm on. Full day of organic mulching today. So we got some mulching going on.
It's a good day to do it. It really is a good day. It's going to be warm, but not ridiculous.
Yeah. And Kevin hit on a fun topic, too, of arugula reseeding throughout the garden. People don't realize that some of these edible plants are actually really good ornamental plants or annuals that you can just have. And then how wonderful is it to walk out in your garden and just grab some and eat it and have it be there. And it's just part of the yard, but it's edible, too. So that's kind of fun. That's a neat concept.
When I had the veggie, what did we call it?
Veggie pod.
The veggie pod, and I had the cilantro and the various things, lettuce out there. You're right. Just go out there and pick it, and here's your salad.
Yeah. And so having those plants in the landscape, just part of the landscape, is awesome to do. And sometimes you forget that they're there, but you walk out there and you're like, oh, I'm going to make a salad today, or I'm going to make this, or I'm going to eat this. Yeah, it's good to do. Let's see. We suddenly had a few cold nights down in the low 40s, Lenore. Yeah, and that'll really make things change.
Is she canning country?
Lenore? Yeah, right?
I think.
That'll really change things up for people. That's when you'll start to see the leaves start to change on trees. You'll start, like we said, see some of the foliage drop off. And that's a really good sign that you need to turn down your water, turn off your water, decrease the watering, because now the plant just doesn't need as much as it used to, for sure. So be careful with that.
You have hydrangeas here?
I only have one in the front. It's doing terribly.
Yeah, I had a terrible year with mine.
Yeah.
It never really bloomed.
Yeah, mine was a watering issue. Hopefully next year I'll be better about it.
I mean, the leaves look good, and then about 2 months ago, started to see a little blossom, and it just never came to fruition.
Sue Miller, please talk about fruit tree care for winter, especially citrus and peaches. When can we prune and shape peaches? So how much time do we have for our next break?
We got about a minute. I think
Okay,
you can get started.
Yeah. So on the peaches, Sue, you can prune. Next is when it's already done fruiting, so you can prune now all the way through into the winter time before it starts to set the buds again. Look for the dead branches. Look for crossing branches. Look for weak branches that you want to shorten so that way they firm up and will hold fruit better. And you just want an overall lace. There should be good airflow and light throughout the whole tree. So that's your pruning style for that. And so again, now that it's done fruiting, you could do it now all the way through probably about January, February. Start to back off on the watering. Don't fertilize. And also now is going to be getting ready the time of year when it loses all of its leaves to put your dormant oil sprays, your horticultural oil, lime sulfur, protect against bugs and funguses.
All right, break time here on Garden America. One more segment coming up, and then we wrap things up. We wrap things up already? Yeah, according to the clock, according to the old format clock, and the actual time clock. Taking a break for Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. One more segment coming up on your Saturday morning if you're listening to us or watching us live here on Garden America. Okay, Biz Talk Radio, final segment, Facebook Live, I guess technically, final segment. And so far, so good, Tiger.
Yeah.
How about
exactly.
that?
Huh? So we talked about peach trees care
yes,
when
absolutely.
we were coming back.
Yep.
Welcome back to the program, Garden America,
Something
right?
big just buzzed right by me.
It was a bat. It was a hawk.
Well, that's okay then.
Citrus. So citrus care. Right now, it's critical for you to really lace out those citruses to allow for airflow. As we get into this cooler time of year, a lot of times what happens is the inner growth of the citrus builds up. You get a lot of scale, and then the scale turns into sooty mold and all kinds of other problems. So lacing out that citrus, allow for the airflow, allow for the light. Don't let the weather affect it too much by allowing that deep, dark situation inside the tree.
Right.
So again, looking for crossing branches, inside growth, lace it out properly, is what you need to do for the citrus right now. What else? What else we got? I thought I saw another question. Paula, persimmon harvest and dehydrating just started. How fun.
Yeah, really.
Tanya wrote, Paula, mine are just turning orange. Tandy, yeah, John can. We'll mention to John about hydro seeding. He should do a show. We'll do a show on hydro seeding on how important that is for your slopes. Carolyn, my guess is that these seeds from rose-colored plants that eventually become camellia trees. This year, I'm hoping to get a white one. The original one. Plants are on the north side, east wall. Lemon tree that is badly neglected. I've been thinning, but I also want to top it. Is this a good time of year? Yes, it is. Yes, you can top it now. Veronica, regarding the lemon tree, you can trim it, like I just said, lace it out, top it. Really cut it back right now, especially with the lemon. They're what we call ever blooming, so they're ever bearing, so they're always going to be fruiting cycle. You're almost going to never have a time when it's not fruiting, so you can kind of just trim as should be. I will say you probably shouldn't trim more than about 20% of the tree at a time, though, because then what it's going to have is going to react by shooting out these large branches, and you don't want that to happen. That's a stress reaction to a tree. When you trim it hard, it begins to shoot out all these branches.
I've seen throughout the county when the city comes in to do trimming, and sometimes I've seen trees that just look horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
they've trimmed them back so far.
Yeah.
On purpose, I imagine, but is that good?
Like
you
I
just
said,
mentioned.
it just reacts. The
Yeah.
tree reacts. So people think, oh, I'm going to prune it back hard because I want to not have it grow back. But it's almost like the opposite effect.
Right.
It actually grows back even stronger.
The tree is
and
protecting
faster.
itself in a way, right? It's reacting to.
What it's doing is
Did it go in? Is it shock?
Well, here's what it is imagine you've got this base, you've got this root system, you've got all this structure for a 20-foot tree. Okay? Well, then you take it down to 10 feet. Well, it still has all the structure for
too
the 20.
much structure.
You for the 20-foot tree. So then it's forcing water, forcing growth, forcing nutrients into this tree. And so that's why you get this super fast growth.
It makes a lot of sense.
So that's why a lot of tree care people will only take off 20, maybe 30% at a time. Is because if they do any more than that, you're just going to get a response.
Yes.
That is counterproductive of what you're trying to do.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Carla wrote, "You did it! Congratulations, guys." Carla,
we got 3 minutes.
What do we have? We have about 3 minutes left.
We have 3 minutes.
Yeah, and so we got on, we did a show, we answered questions for people. We did it.
We did it.
Yeah.
We still have to figure out the studio
Yep.
based on what the engineer told us about how they've changed the Wi-Fi completely.
Yeah.
And we had a feeling last week or 2 weeks ago.
A few weeks ago
that,
when
that
we tried
something,
it. That
something had
something's
changed
different.
in there.
Exactly.
And they've put in a lot of security measures. They've cut back on their the strength, so on and so forth. So,
Yeah.
But so far here, your backyard, Tiger, all is good.
Yeah, just a little bit of trouble getting on, but
Yeah.
once we're here, and that's the nice thing about it is that it didn't drop off yet. And right now in the last minute, the show's going.
And it's interesting because sometimes we'll get on and I'll say, Tiger, what did you do? He goes, I don't know. Anything different? No, we're just on.
No, sometimes it's just a matter of plugging it back
Right.
in or turning it off and turning it on.
Yeah.
That sometimes resets it.
All right, couple of minutes to go here. Any last minute questions, comments as we?
No, everybody's just saying great show.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So glad. Great show. Fun show, guys. Look forward to seeing some of our listeners next weekend at the auction.
Yeah, if you're in San Diego, please come to the auction.
Yeah, so please come check us out. We'll be there. Say hi. Have a great weekend. There's a lot to do. It is fall, so a lot of fun stuff to do right now. Get your fall decor, your pumpkins all going, your corn stalks. Get your scarecrows out there.
Last couple of years, I bought a pumpkin.
We
didn't carve it. We
just leave it.
Left it out in the front door. I think it was there till March.
Yeah.
Just
if you don't break it, it stays.
Break it, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, just a little something that reminds you what time of year it is.
Do you get trick or treaters in your complex? No,
never.
Okay.
I mean, it's been so long. I stopped trick or treating 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
just
finally
walk
gave it
around,
up.
You finally.
I just finally said, what?
No, it's not worth it for me.
I see a couple of big spiders out here.
Yeah, a little bit of Halloween decor, getting going.
Some parts of the world, there's spiders that are
that
probably
big
very,
on real
very
life.
close to that. You can saddle them up.
Yeah, exactly.
So anything else? So next week you're gonna do like a quasi mini show from the auction.
Yeah,
because just to come on for a while.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do our 8 o'clock live.
Right.
I can't promise we're gonna do a full show. But if you join us for the 8:06 time, we'll be live. We'll be talking about what's happening at the show, about
and again,
the auction.
It's not our Wi-Fi either. It's their Wi-Fi.
No, so and it might be just something I connect to via my hotspot. So
there you go.
So that's why we don't want to do a full show. Promise you a full show, but we definitely try to show off some of the things that are happening at the auction and go from there.
Well, thank you so much, each and every one of you. Facebook Live, those on Biz Talk Radio. Thank you for hanging in there with us, for being a big part of our show for all these years, and we hope you have a good rest of your weekend, a great week. Auction next weekend. John is back. So again, for the entire crew, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox, I'm Bryan Main. Thank you once again for tuning in to Garden America, and we'll do it again next week, and of course the week after here on Garden America. Take care.